All right, so in today's TMA Music Business School discussion, we're talking about how to make money and get rich as a music artist. Without saying exactly what it is right away, what I will preface by saying is when it comes to the main pillars of how we are literally seeing some of the most successful independent artists crush the music business. They don't need record labels. They become their own record labels. They end up doing deals with the biggest brands in the world because they build their audience. But while they're building their audience, they're needing to pay bills. Okay, so as they're trying to pay bills, one of the most effective ways that they're doing this is through selling merchandise, but it's not normal merchandise. In this segment, we're going to talk about where to sell, what to sell, pricing, and then we'll talk about maybe some artists who are doing this really well. Okay. So let's start with just like an easy thing. Let's talk about online store. Obviously, that Orko, you have some experience with this. Being a partner in many of my businesses, and we've built things together. We have a record label. So let's talk about the online store experience. Where do we start? Where do we go?
I mean, obviously there's major players out there. We use Shopify. That one seems to be really easily integrated into other platforms and stuff. And usually, like for instance, we are broadcasting. We use a program called Restream to do these broadcasts that we do, and they just integrated Shopify into the way that their platform works. So it's just like, just different website applications and just different things can use it, but it's a great place to hub all of your sales and keep track of them.
Yeah, and what I'll say is you need to think through what you're going to be selling, and like I said, there's creative ways to do this, but if you want to start with just like the stereotypical stuff, whether it's for you, your
Mm.
band, or you represent artists, or I had this one artist I spoke with which I loved, and he's like, I haven't even released music yet. That's not my focus. I'm starting with my merch line, which I loved because he's just like, I just want to build this thing and make it huge and great, and just have clothing that people love. So anyway, if you start with clothing and hats, you can start with platforms like Threadless and Printful. Okay.
Mm.
These are third party platforms that do fulfillment for you. So you set up a store for free. They have you select all the things, and all you do is upload your pictures, right? And they'll add the pictures onto the mugs, onto the hats, onto the beach towels. Now,
And you can, even if you don't even have that stuff, if you're just doing text kind of thing, so you're starting with slogans, so you can design stuff. They offer you fonts, a bunch of fonts to choose from, so you can do everything actually within these Threadless and or Printful. There's a mess of how many companies that do this for you, but
yeah,
it's a great way to go.
great way to start because then it's free, right? Because as soon as you go, now I'm selling merch myself. If it's physical merch, you have to pay for that up front, right? You have to have the smalls and the
Right.
mediums and the larges of the shirts. And so that takes
and
capital.
and that could be also a real nightmare. Let me tell you a little story about trying to go through traditional merch companies. Unless they are local and you are literally going down there, colors like the color red are never going to really come out right. And a lot of these t-shirt printing companies won't just do one because they have to create the screens for all of the colors and things like that. It's an expensive process. And the quality of these print on demand kind of t-shirts that they got has gotten way better. It's not like it
Yeah.
was like 15 years ago. The quality is good. You can get your artwork done faster. You can order like one shirt to test your print to make sure it looks good, and you can get your colors. Follow the color guides on all this stuff, because I'm telling you, as somebody that works with Miss Krystle doing stuff, and her, a lot of her branding is the red hair and stuff, to get that color right on merch if she's going to be on it is super important. So just things to consider.
Yeah, so as far as, you're going through and you're like, all right, so once you know that you can maybe move 50 shirts, excuse me.
Mhm.
If you go, I'm going to do a limited run of 50 to 100 shirts. Well, obviously you want to make sure you have the fan base who are going to go and purchase those, because if you do the math, you can move
Right.
and get 2 grand on 50 shirts, okay? So it's not hard to have a full-time income just from merchandising, and we're talking about traditional merch with
Right.
shirts and hats. So we said where to sell. Okay, if you're doing this online, you can do it on free platforms, but you can also do it on paid platforms. I think Shopify is like 30 bucks a month, and then you can, pay for shipping and stuff. So that's where to sell. Now, number two, what to sell. Okay, so we said traditional stuff. The not so traditional stuff, you can sell digital products because all of a sudden now you don't have overhead. This is where we see artists getting really smart and making money because they will, for example, if you're a producer, what can you do?
No, okay, so you can do beat packs, you can
There you go.
offer like little like courses and stuff and teaching people, but you have to build up a branding for that. But it's about creating, even you as a producer, you create merchandise for producers. It's about tapping into the stuff that you like. And another, just one more quick pro tip with going with these on-demand printers, print on demand, is that is a great way. So say you are an established band and you want to test out merch. It's a great way to test out merch. So maybe you do want to go through a printing company and get your cost down so you can end up making more money per shirt. So you want to go to a traditional, t-shirt printer. You could test out your designs and then go to the more traditional printer and take those shirts on the road where you're making more money if you're on tour.
Yeah, but back to the digital products, having sample packs, having the
Mm-hmm.
investment of
Sample
time.
packs.
Again, you have a one-time investment of time, okay, to put it together, but it's something that could be put on not just like your own website, on your own Shopify store, but you can outsource it on third-party platforms. And so this is now essentially we're talking about like two revenue streams from just the merchandising aspects of what you're doing as an artist. You have the physical merch, which obviously you can sell online, but you can sell it in person, right? You can sell it at your shows. And often
Right.
people, they'll purchase at those kinds of events. But you have these digital products that don't actually cost you anything other than the time to put them together initially. So really think through what can you sell? What can you even teach? And I'm always like, artists who are so smart and so creative. And I'm like, how did you figure that out? You should teach that and sell it and be like, hey, here's a $10 PDF of how I figured out this thing. Sell 100 of those.
No, for sure. And it's not just sample pack. I mean, you can, and if, that's for if you're designing sounds, but it's also, MIDI packs. You can do you could also be working just your music if you're not necessarily putting stuff out. Cause I always recommend this to producers. So as a producer, we create beats all the time and not everything is for one thing. Sometimes we're just trying to create new kinds of vibes. Let's say maybe you're trying to do like cinematic vibes, but like you're really like a trap producer or something. Always categorize your beats and stuff, because what you do is you try to get those synced into TV and film with, and you're just kind of, all this stuff is just stuff that you still haven't even left your desk yet. You can create all these things at your desk. You can create your store at your desk, at your laptop. You can create all these things and release these digital products, or create, musical beds for shows and try to pitch in a different idea. It's just not opening your mind to what you do.
Oh, I love this. So Ashley, I've seen an R sell a printable PDF coloring book.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I
and I
love
think you
that.
had even mentioned, Etsy, right? So selling your
Yep.
literal art, your paint. I mean, there was a time I was really into painting, and so I would sell my paintings at my shows. I mean, and look, let's even use some other indie artists, right? So we have Queen Herbie. She's one. I love it. She even started her own, makeup line, and she pushes particular lipsticks. So I know for even where she's at, and you could be like, oh, she's not that big, where she's at, she'll move easily like 1,000 vinyls, right? Like a limited run. So it's the same kind of thing, picking the thing that your audience will want and starting small. Start with that
Right.
20 units, 50 units. It can be a physical product, but just understand there's upfront costs. It can be a digital product, but again, there's upfront time costs to make it. And then once you know that you have something, start to grow it. So you even you follow some different artists, and you'll tell me, you'll be like, oh my gosh, what was it? Fiona Apple. She's making her own shirts and selling them on Etsy.
Right. So, I mean, you have that. You have artists like Esthero who sell a lot of fragrances based on, like, so she had a hit record, Breath from Another, and so she has like Breath from Another fragrances and stuff like that. I see a lot of artists doing those kind of things. I'm seeing a lot of makeup lines. Um, yeah, I mean, Khalees has, she has a whole farming thing, so she sells farming goods. Sometimes she'll sell like
That's
muffins
yeah,
and cookies
yeah.
and stuff like that. So it's just basically tapping into your audience and just what you already are good at and figuring out how to apply that to your brand and then how to push it forward. That coloring book thing is genius. or like a comic book, or like if you can, like, you're doing art and stuff like that. When you used to do your paintings, like, you could sell your paintings for, you can get a good return on those paintings. But again, it kind of became hard because you're like, well, now I'm giving out these paintings that I love, and it's really hard to part with these paintings no matter how much money that it was bringing in. So you kind of stopped doing that. But you could make your paintings and you could sell prints of them. You know what I mean? Or you could put them on t-shirts. You could do limited runs. Just
Yeah,
whatever you're
even,
good at.
like Arias. Arias is a duo and they do EDM music, but one of the members, Tessa, she sells wigs. And so this is like a side hustle that she does, and she's constantly featuring the different wigs that she sells in her shows, behind the scenes. So she incorporates it into what she does as a performer, as an artist. So it's picking that thing, right? Figuring out what's going to
Right.
work for your audience, and hopefully you love it. If you love it, you'll want to sell it. Obviously, you'll be the brand ambassador for real. So that's where to sell, potentially what to sell. Now
Mhm.
let's talk about pricing. Okay, does it have to be a super low priced good? No, it can be, but then if you're doing low price, you want to try to do high volume. If you think you can move a $10 PDF because maybe it's a great hack that you figured out
Right.
on setting up a Facebook ad, and you're like, oh my gosh, everyone that I know would want to, read this. That's fine. But you're talking about someone who paints. Sell that painting for $150. Well, then you only need to sell one or two, right? Every few days, once a week, whatever it is that you're trying to do. If you are creating a nice carve out of your income as a musician, as an artist, that's how I would say to set your pricing. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, and then I think you should set your pricing. You should have different kinds of things. So while you're talking, I was thinking about, again, Estero, and she does also makes, aside from making like just different fragrances or lotions or whatever she does, she also makes handmade t-shirts. So she will literally sit there and she will do it herself, t-shirts and stuff like that, and then she will sell those for like, $100, $150. So like, don't be afraid to go premium on items either if they are something really special as well. So it's just kind of where you feel good. So if you're going for something like you're just selling, your t-shirts, and you're getting them through like, one of these, print on demand, I mean, keep it reasonable, keep it kind of in line. If they're going to be, you're trying to get the mass out there. But if you're doing, specialty items, or just things that are just super personal or took a lot of time and are handcrafted, I pay for premium items. So
All right, so then let's leave you guys with this. This is the question. What's the favorite merch item that you purchased, whether it's recent or ever, right? And, whether it was in person at like a band performance or you got it online, they were like handwritten, autographed lyrics. Think through something that you took your time and you took your
mm,
money to purchase, and what would that be? So I'll start with you, that Orko, because I already know what this is going to be.
actually, I don't know if you know what this is going to be. Oh, what is it? What would you think it was going to
I,
be?
I would think that you're going to say a clothing item.
Well, yeah, yeah. So, well, a couple things. So, when I went and saw Hole back in the day, and it was like one of the best shows, nights of my life. I was like literally up against the barricade front, for Hole, and I got this teddy bear that had a Hole shirt on it, and it was really really cool because
That's
there
cute.
wasn't very many of them. Um, but it got ruined one of the times that I moved, and it kind of like broke my heart a little bit. But I would say that, or I got an NERD hoodie that was like really cool that I still wear all the time. That's probably my favorite is.
Anything that I have purchased from a live show that I went to just had this extra feel about it. You know what I'm saying? Because there's like a memory that's associated with it. There was a
Mm,
show that you saw, so again, don't discount the power of something that someone can get physically from you and then trying to figure out how to do that. So when we're talking about how do we as independents build to six figures annually, you can now see how you really could do this, but it takes time to actually sit down, think through it, put
yeah.
together a little business plan, and then execute.